Jade from Two Dudes Reviews, and I'm doing this as kind of a two-parter this morning. It's early on a Sunday. I'm a huge fan of barbecuing. I was inspired to do this video, the trick about doing a dry brine and a dry brine on a ribeye based on the number of views, and it seems to be some people were interested in the barbecue chicken, how to make the perfect barbecue chicken breast. You can check out that link right here if you're looking to cook up some chicken. What we're doing is basically a dry brine on some ribeyes. And what a dry brine is going to do, this is according to my buddy Andy, who we'll catch up with later on in this particular episode, is salting the steaks, letting the salt kind of pull some of the moisture out, and over the span of about 2 to 3 hours, that moisture will go out and then jump right back in, so that when you're having a good ribeye, you're not just getting the flavorful crust on the outside, but after 3 or 4 chews, all the flavor is gone. This steak will be flavorful and moist and tender and juicy the entire way through the steak, and certainly through all the bites. We're not going to add any seasoning until we're getting ready to throw this sucker on the grill. What we're doing right now is simply dry brining. Because we're salting these steaks, the spices that we're going to use later, stuff like ground onion and fresh garlic and stuff like that, are going to be spices that are completely salt-free. So we're not using a garlic salt or an onion salt or anything like that. And we'll get into that part of the video in a bit. But real simple stuff here. Got these steaks. They've been, you could call them aging in the fridge for a couple of weeks now. And that's totally fine to freeze your steak and then let it come up to room temperature, or thaw them out in the fridge. It can also be good to throw your steaks on the grill, contrary to public opinion, when they're either frozen or very, very cold. It'll help you keep a nice medium rare center while having a good char on the outside without cooking it all the way through. I don't recommend warming up the steaks to room temperature before you cook them. So I'm just drying them off here, taking off a little bit of that old blood, putting on some salt. You want to go at a kind of a distance away from the steak, and what that does while you season your salt your steak from a high level right here, is it helps the dispersion of the salt, so you're not meeting up with big clumps of salt on your steak. But you want to salt it pretty generously, just like that, because like I said, a lot of these juices are going to come out and then jump right back in the steak. I'm doing something like that. This was my steak fingers. I'm going to use that to kind of pat that salt in. Flip this sucker over like this. And then do the same thing on the other side here. Again, no peppers being put on this, none of the other seasoning. We're just doing a dry brine at this particular point in the process. These steaks are going to sit back in the fridge, lightly covered, for about 2 to 4 hours. You'll know the steaks are done when they look relatively dry up on the top here. Again, we're salting both sides. I got 4 steaks that I'm using. I'm going to sandwich these 2 steaks up on top. We'll get into the cooking process on part 2 coming up here on Two Dudes Reviews.
Hey, it's Andy from Two Dudes Reviews. Now, my buddy Jave did a little video for you earlier about dry brining your steaks. So if you've never done it, I find it lends the most flavor, makes your steak really juicy, and just my favorite way to do a steak. Once you do that, then of course we're going to season this before throw that on the grill. So I'm just going to take a little bit of olive oil, and I forgot to get my brush. Hang on just a second. Let's get the brush. We're going to brush that around. A little olive oil on that steak. Now there's plenty of fat in a ribeye like this, but we still want to throw a little oil on there. This just helps to put a nice little crust on the steak when you cook it. So we're going to rub that oil in there. Now, the key and the challenge you're going to face with dry brining your meat is you need a spice blend that doesn't have a lot of salt in it. Okay, so that's maybe a challenge that you might face. So when you dry brine this steak, I don't add any salt to my steak when I put my seasoning on there, because I've already added salt in the dry brine. So we're just going to tap a little bit of seasoning here. This is a seasoning that I actually make myself. It's called Dr. Van Gogh's Everything Spice. And we're just going to rub that in, just press it in there a little bit. we're going to do the same thing on the other side, and I don't want to bore you with a whole other half, but when we come back, we'll be throwing these on the grill. All right, we're seasoned up. We're ready to put these things on the grill. I heated this grill to about 500 degrees, and today we're going to cook. We're going to cook hot and fast. So we're just going to throw these steaks on the grill here. And the way we're going to cook these, we're going to cook them open. It's relatively cold out here. So what's going to happen is we're going to cook these for 1 minute per side. We're going to turn them, and we're going to turn them, and we're going to turn them. I figure medium rare, we're going to be anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes to get these steaks done just perfectly. So, but we're going to leave it open. We're not going to close the grill. 1 minute each side. We're going to flip them over, okay? And these are going to cook. And while the upside is cooling, bottom side is heating. This is going to give you a more even cook throughout the steak, okay? And that's the reason for the quick flip. So a lot of guys will tell you, you know, oh, put it in and leave it there for 4 minutes and flip it over, and 4 minutes, close the grill. Yeah, now you're going to overdone steak, right? It's overdone. It's overcooked. So we're going to leave it crusty on the outside. Again, reason not to close the lid because we want it to be crusty on the outside. And then we're going to flip it once a minute, and we'll see how those come out. All right, so we're pretty much done here. The steaks have a nice crust on them, got nice grill marks on them, and we like our steak medium rare. So, move right back up at me. So, how do you know if your steak is done, right? So there's a couple of, well, the best way that I know is to check with your hand, right? So this, if you take your forefinger and your thumb and push right here, that's rare. This is medium rare, this is medium, and this is well done. So the difference, the pressure that your hand naturally creates will tell you how done your steaks are, right? So we're gonna go ahead, and we want a medium rare, we want them about like that. Just gonna go ahead and touch these. These are a little rare actually. We're gonna go one more flip, and then we're gonna, we'll see how they do after that. It all depends on what you want. Charcoal imparts a nice flavor, especially if you're using real hardwood charcoal, not the briquettes that come, you know, chemically made, right? I use gas most of the time for a couple of reasons. Number one, we live at 5,000 foot elevation here. You can see the wind is blowing, and it's very windy up here. So I can control the heat a lot better with gas, so I tend to use gas. When I want to impart a little smoke flavor, oh gosh, and I threw that away. I'll throw some wood chips and a piece of tin foil, throw that in the back of the grill. And when I'm cooking something that I cover the grill with, it imparts a little bit of that smoke flavor into whatever I'm cooking. But gas is easier to control. You don't have to wait as long. You fire it up, you're ready to roll in a couple of minutes. So it really depends on your own personal taste. All right, and we're back. We got the steaks off the grill. Here they are. Jave wanted me to talk real briefly about letting your meat rest or not letting your meat rest, and it is definitely it's a bone of contention for a lot of people. Some people believe that your meat's gonna let some juice go and then it's gonna absorb it all back in. I don't buy it. I don't let my steak, my tri-tip, my roast, whatever, I don't let any of that rest. You can, but you don't have to. I think it's just gonna get cold, quite honestly. So, the juices that are lost are the juices that are lost, right? They're not coming back. So, cut your steak and start eating. So let's see how we did as far as level of doneness. We cooked these steaks for about 9 minutes. And we're going to, just gonna slice, of course, the end. Just gonna slice across the grain there. And you can see that it's relatively tender, juicy, and pretty much medium rare. But notice that we want medium rare from edge to edge as much as we can. These aren't real thick steaks, so you're not going to get, you're not going to see that noticeably, but you'll notice that it is pretty much edge to edge. So it's not a thin little band of pink in the middle, and then some gray around the outside, and then your little charred or your burnt end there, or your good crust. I'm going to cut this bone out of here so we can slice this thing up, and we'll go forward from there. Of course, a little bit of mac and cheese, a little bit of bacon wrapped Brussels sprouts on the skewers. Most of what I know about barbecue, I've learned, of course, through experience. My dad was decent at it, but obviously I learned some of his flaws. But my favorite website to go to learn about grilling, about smoking, about cooking meat is a website called AmazingRibs.com. Jade's going to put that in the video somewhere, but AmazingRibs.com, a lot of great information. And I got to say that Meathead from AmazingRibs.com debunks a lot of the myths that you have about how to cook your steak, how to do a pulled pork, how to do your ribs. So I would suggest going to AmazingRibs.com, checking out the different ways to cook and try some of this stuff and see, because the old rules don't always apply. Again, from the kitchen, we're Two Dudes Reviews. Have a great night.